G'day everyone, welcome to another episode of Paths Less Travelled. A little bit of a different one this time, doing some maintenance on the van. So living here in Darwin, and just a few jobs, a few mods to do, bit of maintenance stuff. And so first up, we'll go back in time a few months to when I discovered that the hot water service wasn't working, and see what transpired there, and then bring you forward up until today when I've got the hot water service properly fixed now, along with a few other jobs. So buckle in and enjoy this episode. Hey everyone, we've been living in the van for some weeks now in Darwin. Haven't really been making much in the way of videos, but I thought I would show you what I'm up to today. We've been having a problem with our hot water system where it doesn't work. The diesel heater tries to fire up and basically fails out with an error code, which could be carbon build-up in the heater, could be ignition failure. The error code is not that helpful in pinpointing exactly what the problem is. So today, with great difficulty, I've pulled the hydronic heater out and pulled it apart, and I'll show you what I've found, or what I haven't found. So I was really expecting to find carbon build-up, was kind of what I had figured was the problem. But when I've pulled the heater apart, and this is the combustion chamber, there's really not a great deal of carbon build-up. I have cleaned this up a little bit, but there was really very little carbon build-up. So it seems pretty unlikely that that's the issue, which makes me think that it's possibly a failure of the ignition sensor, or it's just failing to ignite properly. So what we were seeing initially with the problem was the water would begin to heat up, and then it would just fail. But more recently, it's not really even heating up, so not quite sure what's going on there. I've given it a clean up. I've cleaned up the sensor and the exhaust, and I've had a look at the one in the back of the combustion chamber. Everything looks fine there. So I guess I'll put it back together and put it back in and see if it works. Well, I got it working again. And testing it after putting it all back together, it still wasn't working, but it was while I was testing it that I realised that the diesel pump is not actually pumping diesel. So I swapped it over, and it's now using one from the air heater, and it's working again, and the air heater is now throwing an error, which would confirm to me that it is the pump that's the issue. Here up in the Northern Territory, far more important to have hot water than air heating capability. Our overnight lows usually aren't getting even down to 20 degrees Celsius, so having the ability to heat water to do dishes and have a shower is more important than having the ability to heat air. So happy with that for the moment. Going to have to get another pump and replace it. Well, if you're enjoying this episode, don't forget to leave a like. chuck a comment in down below, tell us what you think, and feel free to subscribe. That'll be great. It really helps. It's been a while since I picked up the camera. I've got a few things that I want to do on the van, a few little mods that I want to make, and one of them I'm going to begin on today, probably one of the more involved ones. I've decided I'm going to change the way that the aircon is ducted, and so I've got some vent outlets which I'm going to install, and some ducting that I'm going to run to them. I think the aircon has not been running as well or as efficiently as it could because it wasn't ducted properly, and it's also caused some issues with condensation in our drawers and mold. So hopefully in making these mods I'll sort that out. I've got to pull the drawers out and sort out the mold at the same time. The drawers are empty at the moment, all our clothes are inside the house, so it's going to be a little more challenging to make the mods that I am going to make, because I don't have the well-equipped workshop that I once had. Now that we're here in Melbourne, there's the extent of my workshop. So a little bit more challenging. Don't have a lot of the tools that I used to have. Don't have a great workbench, but it's fairly minor work really that I'm doing. So that's that. I probably won't video much of what I'm doing because I went swimming with my gimbal a few too many times. I'm going under, and now it doesn't gimbal anymore. So I'll just get on with the work, and I'll pick up the camera and show you what I'm up to at points along the way, I guess. Alright, well, on with it. Okay, so I've got the drawers out. That was easier than I was expecting it to be, so we're off to a good start. So at the moment, that opening down there has been acting as the ducting for the aircon. I probably need to open up that hole a bit more, and then I've got to run the new ducting. One will come across the bottom here and out to this vent here. One will come up the back wall and out to this hole that I cut here. I cut that while we were in Uluru to try and get more airflow, and one will have to go up through the bottom of the wardrobe here and up to that hole up there. So let me show you the drawers. So this is what I'm combating. These surfaces just have been getting really cold because the air space is filled with cold air, and then when the aircon gets turned off, because we now live in the tropics, which is such a humid environment, then you get moisture condensing on the timber and mold. So I need to treat that mold. I don't have the facility, the means to remake the drawers here, so I'm gonna have to try and kill that mold and fix it so that the drawers don't go moldy anymore. Well, I've got the ducting run in now. It's not fully properly installed, but just doing a test, and I can tell you it's going to be a major improvement. I got so much better flow here. Let me flip the camera around and show you. So we've got this duct runs up the back of the wardrobe here. Just had to open up a hole there. So there was already a slot there which was allowing airflow before, but now we've got the duct in. We've got our duct, that one goes to the foot end of the bed, and then we've got this other one that comes out down the bottom of the wardrobe here, The flow is just so much better than it was. So really I should have done that from the beginning. Lesson learned. Next time I build a van, I'll duct the aircon properly from the beginning. Make sure I plan for it better. So anyway, get this buttoned up. I've modified the first drawer. Happy with the process. It's basically I'm taking the runners off and then marking the drawer where it needs to be cut down to, cut it off, and then take the rear part, trim it down so that it sits inside, and then brad nail and glue the back in. So fairly easy process, just a bit of care, and it comes together all right. So now just to do the rest of the drawers.
Some time later.
Well, I'm nearly finished the mods to the AC and the drawers. So I'll show you what I've got going on here. There's the top vent installed, and then this one is the one that comes out at the foot end of the bed, and you can see what I've got here is a 3D printed sleeve to marry the hole that I cut. I cut these holes months ago when we were traveling. Didn't have the ducting, just cut the holes to let some airflow out, and so the hole was too big for the duct vent that I had, but I've printed these sleeves, and that should then just slot in to that hole and be a nice tight push fit, and then I can screw that in and job done. So just get that finished off and then put the drawers back in. Well, it's been a few months since we were having issues with the hot water system, and I realized that the diesel pump for the hot water system had failed. It was still ticking, it was making the noise like it was trying to pump, but it just wasn't pumping. So I have replaced the pump, and after doing that, the diesel hot water heating started working again, but it was still occasionally throwing errors, a different error, and the air heating was also throwing an error. When I looked into it, I found that it was a low voltage warning, and the batteries weren't low, but there was too much voltage drop in the cables feeding both the diesel heater and the diesel hydronic heater on startup. So when they start up, they have a glow plug that heats up to get the initial ignition happening, and so just in that startup phase they draw quite a bit of current, and that worked fine when we were down south where temperatures were a bit cooler, but up here in the tropics where temperatures are a bit higher, the starting temperature of the cable was higher, so therefore the resistance in the cable is higher. So I'm pretty sure that's what the issue is. The cable that I ran to those was probably borderline in terms of its size, so I've got some new cable to run. Now the issue is that both of those things are switched from that switch panel up there, but I'm not going to be able to get heavier cable from there to the two heaters, and actually I don't think that switch panel can handle enough current technically. I mean, it has been, obviously. So what I'm going to do is I've got a couple of relays, and I'm going to run a heavier cable from my fuse block down here in the corner under the seat, direct to the two heaters, and then I'll switch the relay from that panel up there still, but the actual load will be supplied from down here where I can have a heavier cable run and a suitably sized fuse. And while I'm at it, I'm also going to probably today install a second Sirocco fan. We've decided that we're going to put one up here somewhere, so probably just up here. Should be relatively easy job, and I can feed it from that panel, so that's the plan. I'll check in again later. Okay, so I've wired in the relays to the fuse panel here. I just need to tidy up that wiring a little bit, put the cover back on, put some labels on it, but we can test the system now. So I've got the hot water and heating turned on at the switch panel. Let's see whether they'll fire up. Here's the heater. Now this hasn't run for months, so let's flick that on. Now the issue that I was having was voltage drop, so if we change it to see the voltage, currently sitting at 13 volts, and as you can see it's 37 degrees in here. Probably don't really want to run the heater, but we need to see it working. So this has a cutout. It'll cut out at I think it's 10.5 volts if the voltage drops that low. So let's see what happens. So the voltage seems to be sitting steadily at 12 volts. I can hear the heater ramping up. Let's see. So it's sitting at 48, 50. 52, so the temperature's climbing. Clearly the heater has fired up, which it wasn't doing previously. If we go back to the voltage, and it's gone back up to 13 volts, which means the glow plug has now powered off. The heater has fired up, and it is going to run. The fan is ramping up. I can feel warm air on my leg coming out the vent. It's up to 70 degrees. As I say, it's 37 degrees in here today. Probably don't really need to run the heater, so I'm going to shut that down, let it cool itself down. Happy to say that that has now been sorted. So here's the hot water system. So we'll fire that up and see what that does as well. So that's measuring the temperature of the coolant, the heating medium. I can't remember how to change to see the voltage. There we go. So sitting at 13.2 volts. We'll see what this does. Okay, so the hot water system is working as well now. It was working a lot of the time anyway, but occasionally was throwing an error, so time will tell. But the air heater has a longer cable run, so if that's not seeing voltage drop, then this is unlikely to as well. And actually watching the voltage on this as it fired up, there was no perceptible voltage drop, so I'm pretty confident that that is the issue sorted for both of these units now. It'll be good because in December when we go to Victoria again, we'll probably need the heater, because summer in Victoria, probably need the heater. Certainly don't need it up here. Well, that's it for today. It's mid-afternoon. Heater and the hot water system are both now operational again, and we've installed this extra Sirocco fan so we can have a bit more of a breeze here at on the seating area. So the next thing I need to do is get the van serviced. Time for another service, and I want to get the coolant system checked. Pretty sure that the radiator is leaking a little, and so that's not great. Need to have that sorted before we do the next big trip. And the clutch is playing up a little bit too, so I just want to have that looked at while it gets serviced. Well, thanks for catching up and staying till the end. Next up will be, who knows what will be next. The year has not at all been what we imagined it would be, but thanks for joining us. As always, be kind, and we'll see you next time. See ya.